I will have to upgrade my slime ball skill in order to shoot slime balls. So I'm going to increase it. Boom. There. As you can see, everything is now green because when we increase from 0 to 1, it turns green. Now I can shoot slime balls. Woohoo! Now this is a level 1 slime ball, so let's see how many shots it takes to kill a bat. 1. Oh, I missed. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh no, he hit me. 8, 9, 10. Okay, I made this hard. Okay, it took 10 hits to defeat a 100 health bat because my slime ball skill level 1 only does 10 damage. And we're going to upgrade our slime ball a little bit more. So now we're at level 2. Let's see how many hits it takes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so instead of 10 hits, it takes only 5 hits because we're doubling our damage. Now, of course, it doubles from level 1 to level 2, but from level 2 to level 3 is not a double anymore. It's just 10 more damage. So let's see what level 3 does. So this is 30 damage points. 1, 2, 3, 4. I need that health. Okay, so as you can see, as we get more damage, it takes fewer hits to kill the enemy. Okay, we're going to learn how to do that today. And by that, I mean we're going to make these skills actually real skills that have an effect in the game. Now, before we really get started on my favorite part, the coding, I want to set up a system. I want to make a bunch of experience for us to pick up so that we can level up quickly. And when we level up, we'll have more skill points, and then we can test out these skills much more easily. So let's get started on that. Now, the first thing we want to do is go to the pickups folder, and I want an experience pickup that gives us more experience. So currently, this one just gives us 1 point for each star that we pick up. And I like that. I want sometimes experience stars to be just 1 point, but I want another kind of experience star that gives us 10 points. And so if we get a whole bunch of those in a row, then we will level up quickly. So let's duplicate this star. We just make another one, and we're going to rename it so that, well, it's already experience 1, so let's make this one experience 10. Okay, let's go to the scene view and double click on the star so that we can view it as a prefab. We want to make it a little bit bigger, so let's scale it up. Instead of 0.2, like we have the other star, we'll make this one 0.4, basically twice as big as the other one. So the next thing we want to do is change the mesh. So it's okay if it's just a bigger star, but we have some other options in the gems pack. We can pick a different star gem, and there is one specifically called star gem, and we will pick that one so that it looks a little bit different from our other experience pickup. The next thing we want to do is change the experience that we get from this to 10. Pickup effect amount will change to 10. The next thing we need to do is place a bunch of these experience 10 stars close to our character so that we can get a whole bunch of experience and level up in a short period of time. Just for testing purposes, of course. Now here we can see the difference between the two different experience stars and how much bigger the 10 star looks. Okay, we'll delete the other one, and we're going to start duplicating the big one. Remember, you can Control-Shift-Drag to move an object on a surface so that it doesn't have to just go in one direction. It can stick to the surface. And Control D duplicates the object, and so that we can do Control D and Control Shift drag, Control D, Control Shift drag, and we'll make a whole bunch of these in no time. Okay, I'm going to select all of these now and put them inside of a container object just for management. We don't have a general container, but we have one for gems. So I think this is a good spot. Just drag them in there. And then, just for my own preference, I'm going to rename this to pickups. Now that's a little better organized, I think. Okay, we have 5 scripts to look at today, but some of them have very little changes. Only one of them is a new script. So the first one we're going to look at is character. And if there's 2 new methods. There is a get max health and a change max health. And this is pretty straightforward logic here. We're just increasing the max health of the character by the amount that you plug into the method. We're also changing the current health to be equal to the max health after we've changed it. So if you increase max health, you would want it to also heal you, maybe. At least that's what we're doing here. And if you decrease max health, which I don't think that's going to happen in this game, but if you did, you wouldn't want the current health to be greater than the max health, so we would want to reduce that. And then the display health is just what updates the health bar. Now, the whole reason that we're doing this right now is because one of our skills is going to be increasing our health. And so that's the reason that we're introducing these 2 methods here. The next script is damage projectile. This is a very minor change. Remember, this is the script that lives on the actual slime ball that goes flying through the air and hits an enemy. The only thing we're changing is we're making the damage amount a public variable so that we can change it dynamically because of a skill. And we're going to have a skill for the slime ball. And the higher the skill will be increasing the damage amount. Okay, the next script is player character. This one has some more significant changes. We're using system.link for something that's we're doing down below. We're adding a character controller reference for our character controller. We are making the level a public variable, player characters level, and we are adding a reference to the character script, my character. Okay, and then this is the onPrimaryFire method. I'm going to scoot this over so we can see. So onPrimaryFire is the method that we use whenever we are shooting the slime balls. And making a few changes in this method, we're getting a variable called slime ball level. So this is for the skill level. And we're using calling a method called getSkillLevel, and then we're giving it the name slimeball. This getSkillLevel is defined in another script we'll look at later. But basically, you give it a name of a skill, and then it returns back a number, an integer level. And then we're adding it to this condition we already had, but we're just adding another condition. We want to make sure that the slimeball skill level is greater than 0. Because we don't want our character to be able to shoot slime balls if he does not have the slime ball skill. And then this character controller.velocity, that's not new, but before what we were doing was we were getting the component right at the moment we were clicking. We're getting the component for the character controller to see how fast it's moving or the direction and velocity it's moving. And we don't need to do that because we're going to get that controller in a one time beforehand, and then we can reuse that reference anytime you click. So it should make it a little bit more efficient. And then this is a new line, my projectile.get component damage projectile. So we're getting the damage projectile component of the new projectile that we just created, and we're setting the damage amount that used to be private. We're setting it to the slimeball skill level times 10. So that means we're going to do 10 damage per level. So if we are level 1, it'll do 10 damage. If we're level 2, it'll do 20 damage. And yes, I know we're doing this get component 2 times inside this method that every time you click. But I don't think we can get around this because this is an object that did not exist before we instantiated it. Okay, in the awake method, this is where we're getting the my character component and the character controller component. Just getting references to those. And then there's the get skill level, which I talked about earlier just a little bit. It takes in a string skill name, and then it gets a reference to all the skills, and then it goes through all the skills and checks for the first skill that has a skill name equal to the skill name that we plugged into the method. And then it returns not the skill, but the skill level. The next method is upgrade max health. So this is how we increase the health of our character when we upgrade the health skill with a little plus button. It will call this method, and it increases the character's maximum health by 20. And so we have this other method called change max health. That lives on the character component, the character script. This is just a place to call that increase by 20. And then this line 106, we are updating the max health value in the player character menu and setting that equal to the max health, which we are getting from the character. This get max health and change max health we already looked at earlier in the character script. Now here's an upgrade jump skill. So the ability to jump in this game is also a skill that you have to upgrade. And what we do here is we get a reference to the third-person controller. That's a component that we downloaded as a package from the Unity Asset Store. And that's how we control our character. We get a reference to that third-person controller, and then we get the skill level of the jump skill, and then we update the third-person controller's jump height. That's a public property on the third-person controller component. We set that equal to the jump level divided by 2. The jump height variable, even a 1, is a pretty decent jump. If you get about a level 5, you're jumping over trees. So that gives you an idea why I divided by 2. But then I have to convert this into a float before I divide it, because if you don't, it's an integer and it will round down to the next lowest integer, and 1/2 will become 0. So I convert it to a float so I can divide it by 2, and then it'll be a 0.5 for the jump height. And then we have upgrade sprint. That's another skill. Sprint is what allows us to run when we press shift. And this also uses the third-person controller. We're just getting a reference to that component. We're getting the sprint level, which is the skill called sprint. And we're setting the sprint speed of the third-person controller equal to the movement speed of the third-person controller plus the sprint level. So we want, of course, sprinting to be faster than walking. So that should be level plus the movement speed. Okay. And the last thing that we're doing is in the gain experience method, specifically when we level up a character, we're wanting to refresh our skill statuses. And so this will be the next script we look at, player character menu. But there's a new method in refresh skill statuses. This is what checks to see if a skill is even able to be upgraded based on the character's level. And so we will update the statuses whenever we level up. Okay, the next script we're going to look at today is player character menu.cs. This has quite a lot of changes. In fact, it's probably more changed than not changed. So anyway, we've got a few new using statements. Each of those, I believe, is necessary for something new that I added. In the properties of player character menu, we're adding a reference to the skill tree. Another thing we're adding is a max health integer field. That's one of the visual integer fields that's displayed on the left-hand side under the character image. We also need a new kind of type, a visual tree asset, and we need a skill tile template and a skill row template. I'll show you how we create those later. It's kind of like a prefab in UI Toolkit. And then we're going to also have a list of skills, and skills is a new script that we're going to look at next. And it's just going to be called all skills. So when our player character is starting in the game, this generates a list of all the skills that they have, and that's not all the skills that they actually have, but any skill that they could have will be in the list. So our on enable script, the main thing that we're doing, we're getting a reference to the max health, looking that up. That's an integer with an integer field, and we're setting its value to the default 100, and it'll change later if it needs to. We're going to set the skill tree, get that visual element, and then we're changing this next line. We're just using the reference of skill tree. We previously had a variable named skill tree, but it was defined right there. So on line 37, which is now line 46, it was a local variable that was created right then. Now we're creating it at the top level so it can be used later. So we're going to set the skill tree, and then this is how we're getting the all buttons. So we're going to query all the buttons that are in the skill tree, and that's going to be all the little upgrade buttons. And then we're going to go ahead and generate the skill tree UI. Generate skill tree UI is a new method we will look at just a little bit later. Oh, there it is. So here's that method. What we start off with is the skill tree variable. We're just clearing it in case it already has some stuff in it. We're getting the all skills variable by taking the player and get components and children, which is a recursive method that goes and looks at all the children and all the children's children as far as it goes, looking for objects with the component skill, and it'll return those components as a list. So we'll have a list of skills, and that's what this variable is. And then we're going to take that list of skills and we're going to make another list called skills by row. And basically it's a list of lists. Let's see, hover over this, we can see it's an I ordered enumerable. It's just a different type, but it is very similar to a list. And then inside that is an I grouping. And then inside that is an int comma skill. So it is like a complex kind of list so that we can sort things. But anyway, the way we're generating this is the group by method, and it takes a, I believe this is called a predicate, where you're defining like a temporary variable, and you're saying, I want this property of that variable. So we're talking about the thing that's inside the list. So it's a list of skills, and so we're going to say S for skill, S such that S dot skill row, and it doesn't even have to say anything else because all this is doing is grouping by skill row. And then we're going to order by the group so that it's a ordered list, and so that when our rows will be in order from lowest to highest. And then we're going to for loop through the skills by row, getting the row group one at a time. We're going to create a row element. So this is a row in our skill tree visual element. We're going to create this row, and we're instantiating the skill row template. Now, we set the name based on the row and the key, which is just the row number. But then these next two lines are things that are actually set in the template, but for some reason it's not taking effect if I don't do it in the code also. So maybe that's something I'll figure out later. We need the flex direction to be of type row and the justify content to be centered. And then we're going to create a new variable called sorted row skills. And so that's taking this row group, which is basically a list of skills, and we're doing the order by, again, like we did for the rows. We're now doing in the row for the skills, and we're ordering by the skill column. And then we're also going to for loop through that, the sorted row skills. And each one of those is one skill. If the skill is null, we're just going to print out an error in the console and continue, which will just go back to the next skill in the list. And it shouldn't be null, but we need to check for that. Then we're going to create a tile instance, and that's where we're using the skill tile template and instantiating it. For some reason, this one, it keeps all the properties I had in the skill template. The skill tile template, I don't have to set all those properties to make them look right. But if for some reason that instance comes back null, we will continue. Now here's the things that we do have to set on each instance, each tile. We're going to set the name. That's the name label for each skill. And then the skill level, which is the level label. And then we're going to check if there is an image. So the skill data, which is a skill, if it has a skill image and that skill image has a texture, then we will set that skill image in the tile instance. So this is going to set that tile to actually have the image. And then this is the upgrade button. The tile instance already has a button, but we're using this tile instance.q to find the button, which is named skill button or skill up button, creating that reference. And then we're going to set the dot clicked for that button to the on skill up clicked. And we're going to pass in the reference to the upgrade button itself. That's the method right there. And then the last thing we do inside this for loop is row element dot add tile instance. And this is just adding the tile to the row. And then when we're outside this loop and we're in the next level of loop, we're adding the row to the skill tree. And the last thing we do in this method is refresh the skill status. Now here is the on skill up clicked button. We already had this method, but we're making some changes to it. We're going to set the skill name equal to querying the skill name label from the tile. We're going to get a reference to that level label. So we have the skill name label and the level label. And we're going to try to parse the level label .text into an integer. And we're going to put that into an integer called current level. And so then we can reference that inside this if statement. And we're going to create a reference to the skill that is equal to all skills, first or default. So we're just looking for the one in the list that meets this condition, where the skill.skill name is equal to our current skill name .text. So the skill name and that skill name are different. This is a property of skill, and this is a variable that we just created above based on the skill name label of the tile. So we're looking for a skill by that name. And then if the current level is greater than or equal to the max skill level for that skill, then we're not going to do anything else. We're going to return because this button does not need to have a click event if we're already at maximum skill. Then we're going to go ahead and say the current level is increased by 1, and we're going to update that level label text to the current level .toString. So it updates the number. And then if my skill level change 1, so this is actually making the change. It's inside an if condition, but we're making this change to the skill level because we're referencing the skill. Skill level change is a method on the skill script that we will look at later. So we're increasing it by 1, and then only then do we reduce the skill points if it successfully increased the skill level. And then we're going to check again if the current level is greater than or equal to the max level. Then if it is, we're going to remove the button so that it can't be clicked. Then we're going to create a skill icon reference, get the skill icon from the tile, change the tint color to green. So they start off white. And when you increase the skill, they become green. So obviously that only takes effect really the first time because they start off white and then they turn green the first time you upgrade them. Going from 0 to 1 is a bigger deal than going from 1 to 2. And then going from 1 to 2, it still sets it to green, but it was already green, so there's nothing to really talk about there. And then at the end of this method, and remember we're on the on skill up clicked method, we're going to refresh the skill status. And that's the next method, so let's talk about that. Refresh skill status. We're going to start off with a Boolean. And I think by default, Booleans are false because we're not setting the value. We're going to get a reference to all skill tiles by using the skilltree.query, looking for skill tiles. And we're going to put that into a list. And we're going to for each through that list. And for each skill in all skills, we're going to set the status to true to begin with. We're going to assume that this is going to be an active skill. And then we're going to get a reference to the tile that has the same skill name. And we're going to check that the player level requirement, if it's greater than the player's actual level, we're going to set status to false. So this is the situation where if like you're level 1 and you have a skill that requires level 2, it's not even available to upgrade. So your whole skill tile is going to be grayed out. And then once we've found what status we want, then we use that status to set the tile to enabled or disabled based on whether it's true or false. And then if it was true, we're going to make sure that the opacity of the tile is 100%. And if it's false, the opacity is 50%, so that it's not only unclickable, but it's like see-through grayed out. Okay, that is all of player character menu. Okay, the next and last script that we're going to look at today is the skill.cs script itself. It's not a very long script. It does have several using statements. Won't go into detail on that too much. It's a mono behavior. It's just called skill. A skill has a skill name, a skill image, a skill row, a skill column, and a player level requirement. It also has a skill level and a max skill level. As you can imagine, some skills, if you were to just be able to upgrade them indefinitely, they could just become ridiculous. Like for instance, our jump skill, after you get about to level 5, you're jumping over trees, so I don't think you need to jump any higher than that. And then the last thing is we have a skill up action variable, and its type is Unity event. And I don't think I've introduced this before, but I'll talk a little bit about it, and we'll see what it looks like when we are looking at the Unity editor. So first method is skill level change, and we're just going to give an amount that we're changing the skill level, and it's going to be an integer. And if that amount is 0, we're going to return false. If the amount plus the skill level is less than 0, so that means if we were giving it a negative number and it went down below 0, we're not going to allow that. We're going to return false. If the skill level plus amount is greater than the max skill level, then we don't want to allow it to upgrade beyond the maximum, so we'll return false. Now, if we get past all of those, we're going to go ahead and change the skill level, increase it by the amount. And then if the amount is positive, we're going to run the skill level up method, which is defined below. And then we're going to return true, saying we did in fact change this skill level. And then the skill level up method only does one thing. It takes the skill up action and invokes it. So the skill up action is this Unity event, and that is similar to when you define a button click event on a GUI button, and I'll show you what it looks like when we're looking at the UI. Okay, now we're going back to the Unity editor and we're looking at the UI builder. So we have our older character menu all set up, but we need to make a few changes to it. Okay, remember we're adding the max health value here for the character. So let's take this level and duplicate it, Control D. And of course it puts it at the bottom, so I'm going to move it back up where I really wanted it to be. This is going to be called max health. And of course we want the label to say max health. With a space is fine. The value is probably going to be 100. And I believe everything else can be just the same as the other stats. Okay, the next thing we need to do is look at these skills. So we want to make sure, I'm going to go look at the very first skill tile. We want to make sure that all of its sub-elements have names. So skill image, skill name, skill up button, skill level, that's good. We're going to right-click on the skill tile and create template. Now, it wants us to save it as a file. By default, I think it goes to the assets folder. We want it to be in prefabs. We want it to be in characters. We want it to be in player. And we're saving a skilltile.uxml file. It's going to go right next to the player character menu.uxml. It's good. So there's our skill tile. It's saving it as a separate object. Okay, now that we have that file, I'm going to go ahead and confirm that the file is in there. There it is, skill tile, and that's a UXML file. Now, the next thing to do is to delete all of these skill tiles, including the one we just made a template out of. Okay, so we have a skill row with no tiles in it. We're also going to delete all of the other rows. So now there's nothing but one empty row, and I'm going to right click on that and also create a template out of that. And of course, it didn't remember my location, so I'll have to find it again. And this is skills row.uxml. Okay, and there it is. Now we can go ahead and delete this row. Now we're going to use basically these templates. The scripting will build our tree based on our skills. Okay, we're done with our UI Toolkit changes, so I'm going to save, Control S. There we go. Okay, the next thing, we're going to go back to the Unity hierarchy, where we go to the scene view. Okay, one last thing that we need to manage in the player character menu, because right here, the player character menu now has a couple of properties that we can set, and it's for the templates, the skill tile template and the skill row template. So let's drag in skill tile to the skill tile template and skills row to skill row template. Okay, I want to point out an example of somewhere where I messed up that's really easy to do. Okay, first of all, I want to show that you can, normally we're looking at the UI builder, we're looking at the main screen that we're building, the player character menu, UXML. But if we open the skill tile XML, we can look at just that one tile and how it's put together. I have named the image skill image, but in my code I'm referencing it as skill icon. So I guess it doesn't matter which way you fix it, but I'm going to change it here because it's one change, skill icon. And I think I did this in my other project and I forgot to do it here. Another thing that I think will make this look a little bit better is to make some kind of borders, make a spacing around the icon so it's not right up against the edge of its background. And the padding, change that to 10. Now it just makes the image inset inside of its own background. Okay, next thing we need to do, we're going to go to the player character object. And this is, of course, our object that has a lot of stuff on it, but we're looking for the third person controller script. Now we're going to make a skill for the ability to jump because that's something that we've implemented, and the ability to run or sprint. So to make it so that by default, like without the skill, you can't run, we'll change our sprint speed to the same as the movement speed. So that's 4. And then we're looking for the jump height, and we're going to set the jump height to 0. Okay, the next thing we want to do, I'm going to open up the player character and right click on in the hierarchy player character and just create an empty. And we're going to name this empty skill tree. You can put a space in it if you want to. And then inside skill tree, we're going to make another empty, and we'll call this one jump. So this is a empty object, has no components. It's just an object named jump. But we're going to add a component, and we're going to add it the skill component. Okay, this is what makes it a skill. So we want to obviously fill out the properties. So the skill name is jump. The skill image is, let's go find that arrow that I liked. I think this was the one. Okay, the skill row is going to be 1. It's on the bottom. And the skill column is 1 because it's going to be on the left. The player level requirement doesn't matter because you can get it as soon as you have the skill points. Skill level is 0 because we don't have it yet. And the max skill level is 10. That's probably way too high, but we'll leave it at 10. Now, this is the skill up action property. And as you can see, it's this little drop down where it's like a list of objects. And so it says the list is empty, so you click the plus. Now, hopefully you remember this from when we were setting up UGUI buttons to do stuff. So you have an event. This is called a Unity event. You can choose whether it runs runtime only or otherwise, but I always choose runtime only. You need to specify an object that the code is going to be attached to. So let's go find that. Now, all the methods we created for upgrading the skills, we put them on the player character object, which is this object right here. So we're going to drag in player character into the none object slot. And then now we have a availability to drop down the function list. We want to select player character because that's the script that we've put our things on. And inside player character, we are going to select upgrade jump because that is the method that we've defined specifically for this skill. Okay, so now we have our jump skill, but I'm going to go ahead and select it in the hierarchy and hit Control D like 3 more times. Now we have 4 jumps, but we're going to modify them to be other skills. Okay, the next one's going to be called speed. So we'll rename it here and also here. Okay, it turns out we actually do want the skill name to be called sprint because that is what our scripting is looking for. So that is important that we use the right name because we're referencing it in code. We're going to change the icon, and we'll see if we can find an icon that looks like it represents speed. That looks like a good one to me right here. Okay, so we're going to still be on skill row 1, but we're going to go column 2. All the other stuff we will leave like default, but we need to pick a different method for the upgrade. So instead of upgrade jump, we're going to select upgrade sprint. Okay, so we're going to go to the next skill and change jump to health. We're going to say the skill name is health. The skill icon, we're going to probably just give it a heart. Probably this one, that would be good. It's going to be skill row 1 and skill column 3. And then we're not using the jump, we're using upgrade max health. So this is the skill that upgrades our maximum health. And then the last skill that we're going to add today is going to be called Slime Ball. And the icon that we want for Slime Ball, it's kind of hard to find a good icon, but I found one that I think is pretty good. It's these 3 dots, vertical dots. I know it's meant to be like a menu button, but I think that's probably an okay slime ball icon. This one is going to be on row 2, column 1. And of course, we want to change the method to upgrade. Let's see where it is. Actually, this doesn't have a skill up action. We can actually minus this because we don't want the jump one taking effect. So the reason this doesn't need a skill up action is because the only time it really takes effect is when we're clicking to shoot. And the code to do that is already set to only work if there is, in fact, a skill called Slime Ball that's got a level that's greater than 0. Okay, one thing that we definitely want to set, just to demonstrate this ability, this requirement, is we want to set Slime Ball, you have to be like level 3, something like that. You can't just get the ability to shoot slime balls at level 1, but when you get to level 3, you can. So we will demonstrate that requirement. So in the slime skill, we want to make sure that the player level requirement is 3, but the skill level is 0. So this means that we start off as 0, but we can't actually upgrade this skill until we're at level 3. So I guess we're ready to playtest. So here is our line of level 10 experience stars. Okay, before we start actually doing anything, I want to show that because we are level 1, our slime ball skill is partially transparent. You can see the green background through it. It's grayed out, you might say. You can't click on it. Of course, we can't click on it because we don't have any skill points, but we could click on the others, but we don't have any skill points. So let's get one of our experience stars. Because that was 10 points, it immediately leveled us up. We now have 2 skill points, but we are not level 3 yet, so our slime ball still cannot be upgraded. We can, however, upgrade one of these others. So let's just try jumping. So I'm pressing space, nothing's happening because our jump height is 0. When I go back in here, I'm going to upgrade jump. Boom. And now I can jump. Press space, and it's not a very impressive jump, but we can jump. Okay, our next thing to do is grab all of these experience point stars, and they go up kind of close to where the bat is, so I want to upgrade my health a little bit before I go. Our current max health is 100. If I upgrade health, it's now 120. That's all of our skill points. I'm going to have to go get some more levels. Okay, luckily he didn't see me. Now I can safely upgrade some skills. The next skill I want to look at is sprint. So we're going to upgrade it to level 1. And as we're moving, we're going to hit shift. Now, I don't know if you can see the difference, but it is slightly faster. Not very much faster, but it's like speed 5 instead of a normal walking speed is 4. So I might need to upgrade it a little bit more to even be noticeable. So here's walking, here's sprinting. Walking, sprinting. Okay, I think maybe one more to make it actually useful. Walking, sprinting. That's significantly faster now. So I think that's like 4 versus 7. What we were doing before we added the skills was sprint speed was 8. So let's go ahead and upgrade it to level 4, which is sprint speed 8. Now, I don't currently have the slime ball skill. As you can see, it's now available because my level is over level 3. I click, nothing happens in the game view. I will have to upgrade my slime ball skill in order to shoot slime balls. So I'm going to increase it. Boom. There. As you can see, everything is now green because when we increase from 0 to 1, it turns green. Now I can shoot slime balls. Woohoo! Now this is a level 1 slime ball, so let's see how many shots it takes to kill a bat. 1. Oh, I missed. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh no, he hit me. 8, 9, 10. Okay, I need this hard. Okay, it took 10 hits to defeat a 100 health bat because my slam ball skill level 1 only does 10 damage. And we're going to upgrade our slam ball a little bit more. So now we're at level 2. See how many hits it takes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so instead of 10 hits, it takes only 5 hits because we're doubling our damage. Now, of course, it doubles from level 1 to level 2, but from level 2 to level 3, it's not a double anymore. It's just 10 more damage. So let's see what level 3 does. So this is 30 damage points. 1, 2, 3, 4. I need that health. Okay, so as you can see, as we get more damage, it takes fewer hits to kill the enemy. I'm going to go up here, safe distance again, and upgrade again. I'm also getting pretty low on health. I'm going to upgrade my health so you can see I have 120 max health. I'm going to upgrade to 140. But when we go back to the game view, the play view, our health is all the way healed. So upgrading your health not only upgrades the maximum, but it upgrades the current. There's 1 hit. 2, 3. So 3 hits. 3 hits at level 4. So we're going to upgrade one more time. One, 2. 2 hits at level 5. So as you understand that the amount of damage at level 5 is 50. And so he's 100 health, so it takes 2 hits to defeat him. Now, if we were to upgrade to level 6, we would be doing 60 damage, but it would still take 2 hits to defeat a 100 health bat. So 6 is 60, 7 is 70, it's still not 100, 8 is 80, 9 is 90, it's still not 100. But if we get to level 10 and see our button disappears because that's our maximum level, we get to level 10, we should be able to kill him in 1 hit. Boom. Wow, he just almost hit me. Okay, that is our implemented skill system with the abilities and skills that we had already implemented are now part of our skill tree. Okay, thank you for watching LewyT Amusement Academy Part 26. If you learned something down here in my lab, please like, subscribe, and share this video with your friends, frenemies, enemies, and even your nemesis. Next time, I'm going to do something a little bit different. Instead of the next video in the series, I'm going to go back to a previous video and release a correction. I can't just fix the previous video, but I will make a new video to resolve a critical flaw in Part 8 of LewyT Amusement Academy.